Something is wrong with the math of our solar system. For decades, astronomers have treated the outer reaches of our neighbourhood like a closed circuit, but the data is leaking. In 1983, the IRAS satellite spotted a mystery body the size of Jupiter in the direction of Orion. The media went wild, the Washington Post ran the headline, and then total radio silence. The files were archived, the discovery was reinterpreted as deep space noise, and the public was told to look away. But you can't patch a gravitational anomaly. Today, we are seeing TNOs, trans-Neptunian objects, clustering in orbits that are physically impossible unless a massive unseen admin is pulling the strings from the darkness. This isn't just a conspiracy, it's a celestial audit. We are looking at a system-wide memory leak that suggests our map is incomplete. In the Sumerian source code, they didn't call it Planet 9 or a mathematical ghost. They called it Nibiru, the planet of the crossing, a world on a 3,600-year elliptical orbit that serves as the mobile headquarters for the dev team. If the math of Caltech and the clay of Nineveh are describing the same object, we aren't looking for a planet, we are looking for the return of the root user. Look at the VA 243 cylinder seal. It's 4,500 years old. It shows a sun surrounded by 11 spheres, not the 5 planets visible to the naked eye, 11. If you count the sun and the moon as heavenly bodies in the ancient system, that leaves one outlier, the 12th planet. The Sumerians weren't guessing, they were looking at a different version of the UI. To understand the 12th planet, we have to look at the system errors in our current astronomical model. In the 19th century, astronomers noticed Uranus wasn't following its programmed path. There was a tug in the code. That tug led them to Neptune. But even with a Neptune accounted for, the math still didn't zero out. There was still a residual perturbation, a ghost force pulling at the outer edges. Modern science calls this Planet 9. They're looking at shadow math. The way Sedna and other distant objects are tilting suggests a massive object 10 times the mass of Earth is hiding in the Kuiper Belt. It's a mathematical necessity that mainstream science refuses to name, because naming it means admitting the Sumerians had the admin access code 6,000 years ago. Sitchin's translation of the Enuma Elish, the Babylonian creation myth, isn't a poem, it's a collision log. It describes a rogue planet, Nibiru, entering our system from the outside. It was an external asset that collided with a watery planet called Tiamat. This system crash split Tiamat in two, creating the Earth and the asteroid belt, what the Sumerians called the hammered-out bracelet. This wasn't just a celestial accident, it was a total reconfiguration of the server hardware. Earth was moved from its original slot into the inner orbit we occupy today. When you look at the Pacific Basin, the massive dent in our planet, you're looking at the impact site of a multi-billion-year-old server error. Why can't we see it? In 2016, researchers at Caltech published evidence for a distant giant planet. They found that the most distant objects in our solar system are all lined up in a way that is statistically impossible. It's a 0.007% chance. In gamer terms, the RNG is broken. Something with massive gravity has herded these objects into a specific sector. This matches the maneuvering math of Nibiru. It's currently at aphelion, its furthest point from the sun, meaning it's in the dark sector, beyond the reach of our current optical sensors. It's lurking in the fog of war at the edge of the map, but its gravitational ping is felt every time a new comet is kicked into the inner system. But here is where the math becomes life or death. If Nibiru's 3,600-year orbit is accurate, it doesn't just pass by, it resets the server. Every time this object reaches perihelion, its closest point to our sun, it triggers a global physics reset. Crustal displacement, total format C command for human civilization. The question isn't whether it exists, the question is the next maintenance cycle already overdue? Astronomers have recently detected a wobble in our sun that suggests the intruder is already inside the firewall. Something is pulling at the solar core, and the data suggests it's not Neptune. Why did the US government build a massive infrared telescope at the South Pole? Because if Nibiru is coming up from the south, below the elliptic, that's the only place you can see it. Visible light telescopes are useless against a dark body that emits only heat. This is stealth tech on a planetary scale. For 99% of its orbit, it's in the dark sector of deep space. But infrared doesn't lie. Infrared scans from the South Pole show a heat signature that doesn't match any known star or galaxy. It's a Jupiter-sized object moving towards us, and it's currently hidden behind the glare of the sun. They aren't looking for a planet, they are tracking an inbound asset. Nibiru isn't a standard rock and gas build. According to the technical logs found in the Lost Book of Enki, this world is a rogue asset. It has a self-generated atmosphere kept warm by internal volcanic heat and gold dust shield. This is the gold of the gods connection. They weren't mining gold for jewelry, they were mining it to patch their planet's failing atmosphere. They needed a conductive, reflective material to stabilize their home server while it went thousands of years in the freezing void between stars. We are the gold farmers for a civilization that lives on a world that shouldn't be able to support life. We are part of their supply chain. But what if the math is wrong? There is a massive contradiction in the cuneiform logs. Some tablets describe Nibiru as a planet, but others describe it as a radiant star that can change its velocity. A planet doesn't have an engine, but a mobile server does. If Nibiru is a technological artifact the size of a world, then we aren't waiting for an orbit, we're waiting for a docking. The math of Caltech assumes a natural orbit, but the Sumerians describe a pilot. If this object is being steered, then all our predictions about when it arrives are useless. The admin comes back when the admin wants to. Look at the beta tests happening right now. Erratic weather, shifting magnetic poles, and seismic activity that doesn't fit standard plate tectonic models. The Earth's core is heating up from the outside in. This is the gravitational ping of an inbound massive body. It's like the server is preloading the next disaster. The James Webb Space Telescope was designed specifically to see in the mid-infrared range. The exact frequency needs to track a cold rogue planet. Why is it spending so much time looking at the voids in our own backyard? Because they're auditing the external asset before it crosses the firewall. The asteroid belt isn't a planet that failed to form, it's the debris field from the Tiamat crash. It's the forensic evidence of a planetary hit and run. The Sumerians called it the hammered out bracelet because it looks like the beaten metal across the sky. When you look at the composition of these asteroids, they are rich in rare earth metals and gold, the same materials the Anunnaki needed for their atmospheric patch. The 12th planet didn't just create Earth, it created a resource node that the devs had been harvesting for millions of years. We are just the latest automation script running on the impact site. What does life look like on a 3,600-year orbit? It's a world of deep sleep and high maintenance. The Anunnaki didn't just live on Nibiru, they operated it. This is why their lifespans seem impossible to us, thousands of years, on a world where 1 year, or SARS, is 3,600 of our years. They aren't immortal, they just have a different clock speed. They operate on a higher frequency. When they come to Earth, they are like players entering an accelerated time zone. To them, our entire history is just a few months of server time. They aren't gone, they're just waiting for the crossing to finish their next shift. Whether it's a mathematical ghost or a metallic titan, the 12th planet is the missing variable in the human equation. It explains our past, our legends, and the forced update that is coming for our future. The math of the crossing is inevitable. The infrared scans are showing a massive body with a heat signature that doesn't match a cold planet. Whatever it is, it's on an elliptical orbit that brings it back to our local area network every few thousand years. We're rediscovering the same maze Enki leaked: gene editing, global networks, and space travel. We're basically rebuilding the Anunnaki's tech stack just in time for their return. If you want to survive the next maintenance cycle, you need to understand the entities that operate that world. We found the planet, now we need to find the inhabitants. In the next audit, we're going into the restricted files of the players themselves. We're going to look at forbidden archaeology, physical evidence the devs left behind, artifacts that should not exist in our current version of history. The server is about to get very crowded. Subscribe to stay in the meta. I'll see you in the next patch update.